Hi, thanks for joining me today. I'm Dave Polliard. I'm a go-to-market specialist on the AWS storage team. I have a focus on media and entertainment workloads, and today we'll talk about moving on-premises content into the AWS Cloud. We'll center our discussion today around Amazon S3 Glacier and Amazon S3 Glacier Deep Archive. These storage tiers are a very important part of the Amazon S3 family of services. We'll start our conversation today about the scope of the media landscape and how it's changed and how there's this insatiable desire for content. Second, we'll talk about why archiving content is important and specifically about why archiving content on Amazon S3 Glacier can be part of your workflow as opposed to just a forgotten repository. Then we'll move on to discussing how difficult it can be to migrate content, but how we've solved some of those problems by our media to cloud solution. Finally, we'll dig into our media supply chain and how we can help in other areas other than just archiving content. And then finally, we'll look at customer use cases. There is more content than ever, and it is growing. A recent study indicated that if you watched all of the VOD content available to the average household, it would take you 11 years. Then, of course, you'd have to start over. Up until a few days ago, I didn't know what the word disintermediation meant. But what it does mean is that the producer of content and the consumer of content are getting closer together. An example of that is Netflix. Another example is Amazon Prime. Another example is Hulu, where those organizations are producing content and distributing it themselves. In fact, 85% of Netflix content is now original. But even that original content takes many different forms. And the lesson that Disney learned is that for each piece of content that they distribute, there's going to be somewhere around 234 different versions. That's for different regions, different languages, and then different distribution platforms like iPhones, iPads, and the computer screen. The bottom line is that consumers have 400% more content available to them today than they had 10 years ago. And that growth is going to increase by 20% a year, according to the ABI research. So why archive content? Well, obviously, this is a worst case scenario where valuable original content is threatened by fire. But physical assets can deteriorate over time, and so our suggestion is that you store it digitally, and that the deterioration and possible destruction of content is minimized when you move to services like Amazon S3 Glacier. And while there's no replacing original camera footage, if a major motion picture is completely lost, it's good to have a safety net of a digital backup. So let's talk about how and why we create a digital backup. Archiving involves moving data that is no longer frequently accessed to a long-term retention system, unlike data on primary or warm storage, which needs to be accessed frequently. Customers in all industries, including M&E, require backup and recovery of both their on-prem workloads and for their cloud-native applications, meeting their compliance and regulatory requirements to hold the data. To meet these needs, a good archival solution must provide data durability for long-term integrity, data security, ease of recoverability, and reasonable cost. With that in mind, Conan O'Brien's production company, Team Coco, is preserving 2,725 episodes of his late-night show on Amazon S3 Glacier. So this is what some archives look like. Analog tapes sitting in water-stained boxes. And in fact, I'm probably responsible for a couple of archives like this at local television stations across the country. But what we really want to talk about today is content that's either already been digitized or is born digital and is stored on on-prem systems, and how we get that content from those on-prem systems to the cloud, and in particular, Amazon S3 Glacier and Amazon S3 Glacier Deep Archive. Before you commit your content to Amazon S3, let's talk about durability. Amazon S3 was built from the ground up to deliver 11 nines of durability. That means that for every 1 million objects stored, customers can expect to lose a single object over 10,000 years. Or put another way, if you store something for 10 million years, You'd lose 1 hour of content compared to storing a data tape in your own facility. You'd lose 500 million hours of content. So that's durability. And when we talk about reliability, we have 4 nines of reliability, and that's dependent on outside factors like fiber lines, electric grids, and so on. So I bet you thought moving from on-premises systems to the cloud was easy. Well, it can be, but it also can be very complicated. And this is a chart to show you the potential of all the decisions that you might have to make if you're going to do this yourself, whether it's starting with analog tape, where you might have to engage a third party like SAMA or Memnon, or with digital tape, where you might have to involve a company like TapeArc or Iron Mountain to help move your content into the cloud. And then once the content is digitized, you have to make decisions about whether you use something like AWS Data Sync, the AWS Snow family, AWS Storage Gateway, and then how you're going to transport it, whether it's going to be over a direct connect circuit or over the public internet. So there are a lot of decisions you have to make. But one of the recommendations that I make is that you think very carefully about using your current hierarchical storage management or HSM system or your current MAM system, asset management system, to move that content, because very often some of those systems maintain a proprietary format. And if you're archiving for long-term preservation in a proprietary format, you may not be able to extract the content from that proprietary format over a period of years. And it also precludes you from taking advantage of systems like our AI, artificial intelligence, or ML, machine learning systems, where you can process that content to create new metadata, to create new value, and create new opportunities for your older content to create new programs. So you're thinking, boy, that's complicated. Too bad there's not a solution to help. Well, there is, and it's called AWS Media2Cloud solution. And it's available as a cloud formation template. Media2Cloud establishes the pathways for the migration of content, generation of new metadata, and the rehydrating of that metadata back into your MAM system so that the content becomes searchable. And because if you can't find it, you can't reuse it. And if you can't reuse it, you can't monetize it. So there are 3 steps to this process. So first of all, you drain your existing archive. You send it to AWS. We create new metadata, including proxies if you want it, and do things like speech to text, scene recognition, facial recognition, and then take that content back to your MAM system through a JSON file so that it's linked to the content as it resides in Amazon S3, S3 Glacier, or S3 Glacier Deep Archive. So as I said, it can be a complicated process, but we'll help you through that journey using Media2Cloud. One of the first decisions that you have to make is where you want to store the stuff. Is it Amazon S3? Is it Amazon S3 Glacier or Glacier Deep Archive? And then another decision that you have to make that will help you with is how you transport it. Is it going to be physically transported on something like Amazon Snowball? So what is a Snowball? Well, a Snowball is an 80 terabyte device that's portable. So you can fill it up with your content, ship it to us, and we'll transfer it into the S3 service of your choice. If you don't feel comfortable with moving it via a Snowball, physically having it transported via UPS, we can do an AWS Direct Connect, where then you can have the option of using Storage Gateway, Data Sync, Amazon S3 Transfer Accelerator, and also have partners like cloudfirst.io help with extracting the content from proprietary formats and doing things that you wouldn't necessarily be able to do yourself, or if you could, it would take a long time. So take it from me, cloudfirst.io has really streamlined the processes. And back to talking about Amazon Snowball, if you look at the use case at Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, they used partner TapeArc to migrate the content off of data tapes, put it onto Snowball, and shipped it to us. So once it gets to us, then we can create things like a unique media ID. We can do MD5 checksums, proxy generation, and then analyze that metadata that we create through speech to text, scene recognition, facial recognition to create new metadata that is handed back to your MAM system. So one of the MAM systems that we work with very closely is Levels Beyond, and they can take that newly created metadata and populate their system with it so that you can find that content for later use and reuse. Here's a look under the hood of Media2Cloud with the added detail of AWS services, elemental services, and those of some specific third-party partners like CloudFirst.io, Reach Engine, Nomad, and perhaps even TapeArc. And what we can do here is add different functions depending on what your requirements are. We can add these Lambda functions that trigger events and create new metadata and so on. But I just wanted to give you a sense of the art of the possible that includes celebrity faces, labels, collections, transcriptions, and so on. And really the power of Media2Cloud to expose new opportunities for what had been content that was essentially lost. So let's talk about security. AWS has a shared responsibility model for security and compliance that's shared between AWS and the customer. This shared model can relieve you of your operational burden as AWS monitors, manages, and controls the components for the host system and the virtualization layer down to the physical security of the facilities in which the services operate. The customer assumes responsibility and management for the guest operating systems, including updates and security patches, and other associated application software, as well as the configuration of AWS-provided security group firewall. Beyond that security model, keeping your information safe, there are several interesting features to protect your content once it's in the S3 family of products. In the M&E vertical, maintaining versions of content is of critical importance. As projects are iterated and different versions are created, they can be kept to enable you to revert back to an earlier version if necessary. So S3 replication gives you the automated ability to share content with your partners or remote parts of your organization seamlessly. With S3 access points, you can limit the availability to content by application type, ensuring that editing application, as an example, doesn't access content that is finished. And with S3 object locked, you can do just as the name suggests and lock the object to keep it in read-only mode permanently or for some specific period of time. At AWS, we strive for customer satisfaction, and we've enabled you to automatically move content to a lower tier of storage, which ultimately saves you money. With S3 lifecycle management, you can also automatically delete content based on rules that you establish. I'd like to share a success story with you now. It's Astro in Malaysia, a facility that I've been lucky enough to visit on a couple of occasions. Their challenge was that they had an aging tape robotic library system, and it was overloaded. They had tapes on shelves, and so when a certain piece of content was required, they had to have somebody go down, find the tape, load it into the machine, and that was fraught with danger, possibility that the tape would get dropped or destroyed. And so in the process of decommissioning this system, they worked with our partner TMD to build an Amazon S3 Glacier adapter. And so what that means is that TMD helped Astro move their content from that aging on-premises system to S3 Glacier. And in that process, they were able to take advantage of some of the things that we've talked about earlier today, transcoding, editing, transcription, and some of the AI ML analytics that are available when you move your content to the AWS Cloud. So they realized a fairly substantial cost savings, and had they not done it at that time, their costs would have continued because they would have had to replace some of these aging systems. And again, that 11 nines of durability also was a huge factor. They went from 4 nines of durability to 11 nines. So a huge success story for a very, very forward-looking customer at Astro in Malaysia. As we get close to wrapping up today, I want to again mention some of the partners that have been very, very key to some of our success in the media and entertainment industry. Reach Engine by Levels Beyond, a Denver-based company that I know very well. Cloudfirst.io, Toronto-based organization that can unwrap content and extract content from proprietary systems. Nomad, another very well-regarded content management system. TapeArc, a global organization that facilitates the migration of data tapes to the cloud, either on premises or at their facilities in Australia, the US, and or the Netherlands. And then content analysis partners like Gray Meta and Veritone, both companies that I know very well and that I have very high regard for, that work very closely with us in the analysis and creation of metadata for customers who want to expand the use of their existing content. I wanted to kind of bring everything together. We've talked about these various parts and pieces throughout our conversation today, but I really wanted to kind of show you the whole continuum now, because as field acquisition and production processes grow and have become digital, some of the undifferentiated heavy lifting associated with the workload, such as movement of dailies and collaboration between remote locations, and of course the storage of content during all phases, can be handed off to AWS. And according to the Motion Picture Association of America, the motion picture industry supports 2.6 million jobs and 93,000 businesses. It's estimated by PricewaterhouseCoopers that the global impact of the M&E business will be $2.4 trillion by 2023. And the point is that the various steps that we've looked at today may involve multiple companies, multiple partners, multiple processes, a myriad of locations all across the globe. Large companies, back offices, small companies, all can take advantage of the various individual steps here or take advantage of the entire process. Before we say goodbye, I wanted to leave you with two other use cases, both customers that are using AWS services, in particular S3 Glacier and S3 Glacier Deep Archive extensively. If you watch programs on Netflix, you're watching AWS at work. They have a massive scale, and they've handed the undifferentiated heavy lifting over to us, letting us do the work behind the scenes, and they're doing the creative work, the scheduling, and the building of that service. In addition to Netflix, Discovery Communications is another organization that's gone all in the cloud. Discovery has brought almost all of their processes into AWS, and in particular are doing storage in S3 and in S3 Glacier. In addition to the primary channel that we all know as Discovery Channel, they run many of their other secondary channels off of AWS as well. Thanks very much for sharing some of your day with me today. I appreciate it. If you have any specific questions, please feel free to reach out to me or anybody on the AWS team. Thank you very much and have a great day.